Hello and thank you for joining. A big blow for Thunder Bay's energy sector Friday. Ontario Power Generation has decided to shut down the generating station on Mission Island. The former coal plant was facing an uncertain future after OPG deemed the plant's operational and repair costs too high. Corey Nordstrom has more on why the decision was made and what this means for the region.
The needs of the Northwest can be met now and into the future without Thunder Bay Generating Station.
It would have taken Ontario Power Generation 6 months to fix some major corrosion damage to the boiler at the Thunder Bay Generating Station. With an estimated cost of $5 million and the plant's contract ending in 2020, Chris Freilich of OPG says the company, along with the independent electricity system operator, decided it would make the most sense financially to shut the plant down early, as another contract would not be offered.
It would be in the best interest of ratepayers to terminate the contract 1 year early, thereby saving ratepayers $40 million, and essentially make the decision, the very tough decision, to shut the plant down early.
Due to a lack of demand, the generating station is only used a handful of times a year. Currently, 70 employees work at the station. Out of those, 20 will be kept in the area to maintain nearby hydroelectric stations. The rest will be offered positions elsewhere. Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Michael Gravel would have liked more discussion with area leaders before the decision was made.
I hope there's an opportunity to speak to the Energy Minister, Minister Rickford, with the City of Thunder Bay, with Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, with Common Voice Northwest, with myself, to see whether or not this can be reversed.
Wendy Landry, the president of the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, believes this decision was premature for an area on the rise.
We asked the previous government to make a long-term commitment for that generating station because we believe that there's a lot of mines that are on the fringe of coming about, and we know that there's the needs going to be there when these mines come to fruition.
OPG officials insist the sudden closure is not a sign of things to come for Atikokan. Freilich says the biomass generating station in that community has a contract with the IESO through 2024. And unlike the Thunder Bay biomass conversion, which cost just $5 million, the Atikokan retrofit was much more extensive and cost the province about $200 million by the time it was completed in 2014. Freilich says a multi-year decommissioning phase will commence soon for the Thunder Bay plant if everything proceeds as planned.
There's a number of activities that we need to do to responsibly and safely sort of lay the station up and prepare it for ultimate demolition.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Fire crews continue to battle blazes across the province, where the bulk of the efforts were sent to the Sudbury area. But many are still active in the Northwest, leaving the MNRF at a bottleneck in the region. Adam Riley reports.
It's been a busy fire season for firefighters with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. As of Friday morning, there are around 70 active fires throughout the Northwest, some of which have caused issues for some communities. Last week, vulnerable residents in Wabaseemoong First Nation were given notice to leave due to increased smoke. Fire Information Officer Jonathan Scott says westerly winds are to blame.
That's really pushing smoke towards those communities. And actually, you mentioned Wabaseemoong, Kenora 71. The air quality in that around that fire actually has improved a lot, and so actually the people who were evacuated there are returning to their community.
Crews have recently set up a base camp in Menaki, 40 minutes northwest of Kenora. Scott says its purpose is to act as a quick response and support station for fire crews fighting Kenora Fire 71.
There are currently 160 firefighters, so they're working to establish hose line around the fire, and also there's helicopters doing water bucketing on the fire. And so they've been very successful consolidating lines on the fire, and also recently there was 6 millimeters of rain in that area, so that's reduced the fire behavior on that fire.
That fire has recently been remapped, which shows its size at just under 11,000 hectares following lighting several smaller fires to lead the fire towards natural boundaries. Scott says despite all the activity in the Northwest, resources and crews are still assisting in other regions, which will not hamper operations here.
We're still supporting the Northeast region, but we're also getting resources sent to us as well from other agencies, be it from the United States and other provinces as well.
The forest fire hazard is currently listed as high in the Kenora district, moderate in the Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, Dryden and Fort Francis areas, and low in the Thunder Bay and North Shore of Lake Superior area. However, a restricted fire zone remains in effect in the areas east of Marathon to the Quebec border. Adam Riley, TBT News.
And the MNRF has confirmed that an Albertan woodland firefighter had died during the assistance of the fires. OPP and Sioux Lookout are looking for assistance from the public after a sexual assault in that community. On July 11th at 11:15 p.m., 11 officers responded to the trail between Queen Elizabeth District High School and Sutton Place apartment building, where they located an injured female on the ground. An investigation revealed that the female had definitely been sexually assaulted. The victim was taken to hospital for treatment of serious injuries and is now in stable condition. The Ontario NDP are demanding more policing funds and equal access to law for remote First Nations. The MPP for the new riding of Mushkegowuk, James Bay, brought up the issue at Queen's Park this week after a flood of illicit drugs and alcohol in Attawapiskat and a shortage of legal resources.
It takes Mishnabbe Police Service a week to get a warrant for a justice of peace. It's so bad that the chief and other community leaders have had to seize the contraband themselves. Speaker, is it acceptable that access to the law is different depending where you live? And what does the Premier say to Attawapiskat and the Mushkegowuk Tribal Council?
We appreciate the challenges and the opportunities that Indigenous communities in the remote and isolated parts of this great province have. We're very sensitive to them.
We are aware that the process may not always include all people. We will be looking forward to working with people in your community and across communities around this province to make sure that we can identify initiatives to help ensure that all Ontarians who need to be properly represented are able to be represented. And if the member opposite would like to work together on ways that we can do that, I look forward to the opportunity to sit down with him.
Meanwhile, Rickford also found himself in hot water after a comment he made during an interview earlier this week. While being asked a question on the sale of more Hydro One shares by the province, Rickford interrupted and told the female reporter to smile while she asked the question. The interaction made waves by many on social media who saw it as a form of unwanted harassment. Rickford has since apologized for his comment, and the reporter has accepted the said apology. Nipissing OPP had their hands full this week. On Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the morning, officers stopped a westbound vehicle on Highway 1117 for speeding. Upon approach of the vehicle, the automobile drove off at high speed. Police did not pursue in the interest of public safety. However, 4 hours later, the vehicle was stuck on the side off of Highway 17. The driver then requested help from a passing motorist who was aware of the police search and promptly delivered the driver to authorities. A 33-year-old Mississauga man is now facing multiple charges, including dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, flight from police, failure to provide a breath sample, 3 counts of possession of property obtained by crime, and speeding. Meanwhile, OPP are also seeking the public's help after a reported theft this past weekend at a Nipissing truck stop. It happened on Sunday around noon at the Husky truck stop on Highway 1117. OPP say an unknown individual entered the office area and stole a quantity of cash. The amount taken has not been disclosed, and police are asking for the public's help in identifying the individual with surveillance images available to media. Anyone with information is asked to contact the OPP Nipissing detachment. 2 women and a female youth have been charged in connection to an assault on another woman in the White Sand First Nation. On July 21st at approximately 5 in the morning, the group of 3 assaulted the woman while she was walking. She was later transported to Thunder Bay with non-life-threatening injuries. 3 females have all been arrested and charged, 2 with assault and 1 other with assault with a weapon and a possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose. All 3 are set to appear in Armstrong Court on September 18th. The acclaimed movie Indian Horse is coming to 7 remote First Nations in our region. The summer screening tour departed from Thunder Bay on Monday, and the film lays bare to Canada's dark history of residential schools, but it aims to offer a healing experience for many communities. Corey Nordstrom has the story.
The Indian Horse Northern Ontario Summer Tour is bringing the widely acclaimed movie to 7 far north reserves. The movie has already been shown in more than 25 communities during its original cross-country tour, but due to popular demand, the screenings are back. The tour features 2 Indigenous celebrity guests, Johnny Isaluk, who plays Sam in Indian Horse, and world-class hoop dancer Dallas Arcand Jr. The tour was created in collaboration with I Love First Peoples, a Quebec-based charity. The president of the group says the movie allows Indigenous people to understand their history and current reality.
Many people see the movie, they weep, it's deeply emotional, and they'll stand up after and start sharing, and it always surprises me to see the number of young people who will stand up and say, now I understand why my parents were the way they were, or, you know, my grandparents, or why our community is the way that it is.
Indian Horse is a Canadian film that connects hockey with Indigenous issues. The story, adapted from the novel by Richard Wagamese, explores the career of an exceptionally talented young Indigenous hockey player and NHL hopeful who struggles against racism, even from his own team, when he's recruited to a farm team for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Isaluk says the movie is extremely healing and transformational for viewers.
All their lives, they've wanted to tell their story or talk about it, or didn't even understand why they had these anger issues or these feelings that drive them mad, you know, and seeing this movie, you could tell that there's a lot of relief.
North Star Air is the official airline of the summer tour. Vice President Jeff Stout says they jumped on the opportunity to partner in the initiative and bring the tour to more communities. He says they are committed to further work of reconciliation and healing in Canada.
I think it's a movie every Canadian needs to see. The stories that community members told following the movie were moving, and I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback we're going to get from the rest of the communities, and hopefully we can do a second tour as well after this one to get the word out.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
A disappointing lack of bids in a tax sale has council in Dryden wondering what to do with several properties in the community. And as Adam Riley reports, it also has Mayor Greg Wilson looking at options for federal or provincial assistance to develop the deserted buildings.
Council in Dryden has 2 years to figure out what to do with several properties in the city. Last month, the city held a tax sale on 4 properties, including the former Central Hotel, a parking lot, the Moose Hall, and a residential property in North Dryden. Mayor Greg Wilson says not a single bid was placed on the properties during the sale. The options now include reducing the taxes owed for a new owner to take over or to develop the property for sale. Wilson has been lobbying both levels of government to assist small towns with derelict buildings, as the cost to rehabilitate properties can be restrictive.
All across Canada, across this province certainly, and certainly in Dryden, there's buildings that can become eyesores, and they can be very costly to take down. So communities can end up being at a standstill because they can't get federal or provincial funding, infrastructure funding, to help them at least demolish the current building.
Council is also looking forward to new signage at both the east and west entrances to the city. In a report to Council, Economic Development Manager Tyler Peacock says the signs will be updated through a website, can provide some revenue for the city, and are capable of use in case of an emergency.
We can definitely provide information, especially inclement weather throughout the winter time, road closures, whatever. You know, some people get through town and suddenly realize that there's a road closure, you know, an hour outside of us, where then at that time, you know, turning around might not be a great idea either. We can hopefully prevent some of that from happening.
Wilson believes the new modern signage will be more welcoming to visitors and will help spruce up the entrances to the city.
We've had a number of years of signage that was not working properly, hard to see and so on. But I thought it was about time that we got those right. It'll be interesting to see over the next. It sounds like what Mr. Peacock said was that
over the next few days we'll be able to see the progress as we drive by those signs.
Upgrades to the signs were expected to be completed on Friday and will be up and running this week. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Coming up after the break, Atikokan's Centennial Museum opens up an exhibit of an engineering marvel and the mystery surrounding the person who built it over 100 years ago. It's a feat of one man's brilliance. Located in an isolated pocket of northwestern Ontario's wilderness, White Otter Castle has withstood a century of Canadian winters, forest fire threats, and the effects of time itself. The Atikokan Centennial Museum has an exhibit devoted to Jimmy McHewett and his legacy, while at the same time trying to raise awareness to preserve the castle on White Otter Lake. Adam Riley has the story.
Nestled in a remote area of White Otter Lake stands a testament to Jimmy McHewett's frontier spirit, White Otter Castle.
Architecturally, it's the most interesting site in northwestern Ontario.
That's Lois Fenton, curator of Atikokan Centennial Museum. She's put together an exhibit on the log building and McHewett, who mysteriously drowned near his castle 100 years ago.
Apparently, he caught his clothing in his fishing gear and he drowned. Now, that's the theory. There are mysteries around Jimmy McHewett, so we've called this exhibit The Mystery and the Marvel, because we're focusing, first of all, on the skills he used as a carpenter creating his castle.
Fenton says White Otter Castle has outlasted the normal 50-year lifespan of a log structure. The exhibit also includes many pieces which give an insight into McHewett's life as a farmer near Emo prior to building the castle, and tools which he used in its construction, which showcase his left-handedness. In addition to the castle being an engineering marvel, Fenton says there is a unique human aspect to the building.
It's kind of a love story as well. The whole concept of the castle and one man in an isolated setting building it by himself has captured the imagination of poets and musicians. And there's a wonderful documentary on YouTube by Peter Elliott.
Several objects on display, including a scale model of the castle, were graciously donated by Don Marion, a carpenter who was on the team who began restoring the castle in the early 90s.
I'm hoping to share it with other museums and also maybe do a presentation and tour around schools and that to help the friends here raise a little bit of money to keep the castle going.
Marion estimates anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 is needed to fully restore the castle. He says he has started a personal project to construct a new grave marker to pay respect to McHewett on the 100th anniversary of his death.
November of 93, I constructed Jimmy a grave site, and it's badly deteriorated. And right now, I'm almost ready to deliver it out there.
The Mystery and Marvel exhibit will be on display in Atikokan until the end of the summer. Adam Riley, TBT News.
A Kenora man is facing a list of charges after discharging a firearm within city limits last week. On Friday, July 20th, OPP received a report of a firearm that was shot in the Kirkpatrick Avenue area. The 63-year-old now faces one charge each of careless use of a firearm, possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose, unauthorized possession of a firearm, possession of a firearm or ammunition contrary to prohibited order, and discharge of a firearm in a reckless manner. The man has yet to appear in court. A recent donation from the Hamilton Fire Department is yielding stronger fire protection for residents of the Couchiching First Nation. Last month, a new truck was delivered to replace Couchiching's aging pumper truck. 60 people in First Nation communities have died as a result of house fires over the last decade. This has sparked an outcry to improve firefighting capabilities in those communities. Chief Brian Perot says he and the residents are extremely appreciative of the gesture, but has it benefited the community?
The other being Nigaguzamenikaning. We each received these fire trucks, and even though they are older, there's still a lot of life left in them, and it's going to be a big boost for safety in our community.
Perot says now the community will be investing in a second fire hall on the other side of the railway tracks to provide even more protection to residents. Coming up next, speed demons are revving their engines for the upcoming Terrace Bay Dragfest. The August long weekend is almost upon us, which means the engines will be roaring once again on the North Shore for the Terrace Bay Drag Festival. 2019 is a special year for the event as it marks 20 years since the festival first started. Adam Riley reports.
Every year, car lovers and speed demons make the trip up to Terrace Bay to participate in the Terrace Bay Drag Festival, a 3-day event which features races, show and shines, and many interesting car builds. Mayor Jody Davis says every year it's one of the most anticipated events in the town.
We're looking forward to it again. The businesses are looking forward to it. For a majority of the residents, quite a few participate in the Drag Fest, whether it's volunteering or just attending to watch the cars.
Davis says he doesn't know the exact financial impact the event has on the town, but says when 5,000 to 10,000 people descend upon Terrace Bay, he knows dollars will flow into the community. He adds the car club itself is a generous organization.
They donate a lot of the profits back to the community after all is said and done, to the hospital, to various organizations within Schreiber and Terrace Bay, and it's they're really responsible.
Organizer Dan Riley has been with the Terrace Bay Drag Festival since day one. He says $400,000 have been donated to local charities since the event started. For the 20th anniversary, attendees will get to bear witness to a fan favorite guest returning to the track.
We have the Midwest Wild Bunch coming again this year, and those are alcohol cars from northern Minnesota area, and there's a couple coming from Winnipeg. Usually the alcohol cars, we start on Friday at noon, and the alcohol cars may only get one run on the Friday, but probably 2 or 3 on Saturday and Sunday, and they really seem to draw the crowd.
Riley says there will be other events set up in addition to the car races, including snowmobile and motorcycle racing. The Terrace Bay Drag Festival runs from August 3rd to 5th. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Also in the upcoming long weekend, music lovers will descend upon Keноra's Whitecap Pavilion to celebrate Harborfest 2018. The festival is a family-friendly event with activities for kids during the day, which include bouncy castles and a car show. But once the sun begins to set, that is when the main acts begin. Changes were made this year as it will only run for 2 days instead of its usual 3. But that won't damper Harborfest spirits as the festival is set to host Chantal Kreviazik, Rain Maida, Serena Ryder, Buck Cherry, and 3 Days Grace. Well, that's all we have for this week's edition of Northwest Newsweek. Stay tuned until next time. I'm Jason Gaidola. Take care.